welcome to a special episode of Mighty Car Mods where we're cooking chooks, people. We're cooking chooks. We've got the Brat-Mobile. We're
Cooking chooks?
a chook cooker.
Is that the thing?
Yeah, because you put the chook on the rotating thing, and it sounds like a chicken.
They're not making any noise though, they're dead.
So's this car, interestingly. But let's rewind a little bit.
Well done, man. Well
Thanks,
done.
man. That was a good segue.
Job. Good job.
That's good as a segue. Anyway, we are going to go back in time just a little bit. Now, when we were in Japan, you may have noticed that we were driving around on the highway, felt great. Driving through the twisties, it felt great. Rotary power is quite linear. But I did notice when I was on the track right towards the end of the film that I saw the boost gauge go up when I had a chance to look at it. And then when the revs came up, it went down again. I'm like, that's interesting. Still felt fast, still was great. So when the car arrived into Australia a couple months later, it went through Queensland, it came down to us. The first thing we did was head to the dyno. And this is what we found.
I've brought the RX7 down to Haltech to come and see Scott, otherwise known as Tuning Fork. He's one of my favourite people in the world, and he knows a little bit about rotary-powered cars.
It's snug.
Oh, it's very tight.
You've been in these things before, haven't you?
I have.
Just.
Ben, nicest looking car ever made,
But they're squashy.
but they're squashy.
Proper squashy.
The only squashier part is in the back.
Oh yeah, no one's sitting in there, are they?
They're so deep, eh? The bucket,
Yep.
the seat.
Yep.
It's nice because you can like put your keys and your fruit and stuff in there.
Keys in your fruit.
It's like a little fruit bowl. Look at it.
Yeah, you're all the way back.
Yeah.
I mean, even I'm about 6'1", and I'm looking for better seat options because I can't get far enough back and my knees hit the steering wheel. So on the road, this would be really tough for you, right?
Impossible. Impossible. But dude,
For the dyno, who cares?
for the dyno, who cares? And to look as cool as you look driving this car, sacrifices have to be made. Stock. It's
Stock.
pretty cool.
And
It's
only,
cool.
only a couple real mild mods. I think we've got a truss intercooler in the front, some kind of muffler on the back. I don't think it's a full exhaust, but I haven't had a proper look. And aside from that, I don't actually know. It's got an earthing kit. Super important.
Very, very 90s. Cool. Okay, first pull up, full throttle, hit the space bar.
Rotary power. That lean as?
Yeah.
Really lean. It started to make some more right power, but it really leaned out, didn't it?
Yeah.
That's weird.
That's a bit weird.
And it went in like big jagged, was that what I was seeing? A big jagged line there?
What I might do, I'm going to move the O2 sensor in the exhaust and just make sure that we're getting the proper sample because that is...
It might not be hitting the sensor correctly.
Yeah, that is fairly nerve-wracking. It feels all right and sounds good,
Yeah, it's fine on the street.
but
Worth a look.
this is a good reason to health check your car when you buy it.
Doesn't have a stupid silencer in there, does it? No.
So all I've done is just move it to a different orientation
Yeah.
just in case the muffler was happy in whatever area.
Sure.
All right, same run. Round two, we're just going to do exactly the same thing.
Yep.
No changes.
Yep.
And hopefully our mixture comes to good and it's more of a measurement problem rather than a car problem.
Sure.
I am going to pull out of it. If it's like that again, I don't want to be giving it hell.
No worries.
Maybe it's because you press the space bar.
Oh, you press it.
Should I do
you
it?
should do it, yeah.
Oh, that's better.
Cool. That was healthier. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Looks like pretty stock power too, but I'd be interested to see.
Straight into it, no
Oh,
mucking
you gonna
around.
go again?
Keep it hot.
Cool.
This is it. The things work as hard as it's going to work.
Great.
Full load. All right, your turn. Beautiful.
Super consistent there.
Man,
I'd be very interested to see our boost curve.
100%. So, does it feel all right on the road?
The top end feels a bit flat.
There we go. So pull on pull, I'm going to argue they're exactly the same with a bit of heat soak.
Yeah.
So we made, up the top here, we either had let's just find a nice point to talk about. Yeah, mate, what 127 or 124, whatever.
Yep.
So they were close enough that they're about the same.
Yep.
Air fuel ratio on the rotary engine. So as the run's starting, we're at 11 to 1, 11 and a half to 1. And then as soon as we come across 4,000 RPM, 11 to 1, quite rich.
Yeah, the revs are up there by then.
We keep on cruising.
And revs forever.
Revs forever.
So you think it's only boost pressure holding us back, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
It looks like
I
it's
think
dropping to me.
A lot of factory stuff. Yeah.
Significantly.
It does roll over. So down here, that's got engine RPM down the bottom.
Sure.
And then it's got the boost pressure up the top here. So 3,300 RPM, 11 pounds. You can see the staging point there.
It shouldn't be dropping that hard, should it? I mean, that's my theory. I don't know enough about them, but
11-ish pounds, and then it rolls over to 8,
yeah.
6.
I can't imagine factory'd have 6 or 5 or 6 pounds in it at the top.
In these things, I agree with you. So it
Yeah.
probably is down on power a little bit.
I reckon it is. I'm imagining you guys have a solution for this car too, correct?
We do, yeah. So we make a plug-in kit for
Easy.
Series 6, 7, 8, RX7. So you just plug the ECU in,
Turn the key.
turn the key, it just works.
Ah, sweet. I'm
Will
excited
do.
for that bit. That's a little while away, but I'm pretty excited for that.
Boost control, all that stuff, it'll make that easy.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm super keen to just make it work. Do you imagine, like, with a single turbo and a reasonably mild setup, 200 at the wheels is reasonable?
100%, probably.
Because I reckon this would be fun with about 200 plus would be great.
Using the same rules as later Subarus, later Evos, all that meant if this thing had 220 to 250 kilowatts of the wheels and it was reliable,
Yeah.
and it comes on and it makes 300, 350 newton meters, just holds it till the limiter,
That'd be a good thing.
beautiful,
I think that's the
reliable
aim.
car.
I think that's
Yeah.
the aim. I think that's about the right spot for it.
Yeah. All right, find a manifold kit.
Will do, mate.
So the car doesn't make enough power and there's clearly something wrong with it. So now what we've got to try and work out is what are we going to do to fix it, Martin? And where are we going with this story? What's the end goal?
So the end goal is probably around double what it made on the dyno. Would be great. I'd like to keep it on petrol just because of the availability of E85, and it's something you do want to jump on a highway and just go. So if you don't want to be having to worry about Jerry's and stuff. It's not a race car. The thing's already been modified, so I'm leaning more towards putting modern stuff on it.
Should we talk about purity quickly? So here's the consideration, and I think it's a really fair one. Do you just purify the car, keep it exactly as it left the factory, as it left Hiroshima, as it was intended, or do we get with the times and change it up? And I think there's actually an argument for both of those. So ultimately, we've got to find out what the owner thinks.
So I think if I bought one that was bog stock, really nice, and all that was wrong with it was down on power, you just purify it, right?
Purity's gone.
And then you
already.
then you go, cool, I've got a 2002 20-year-old RX7 that is exactly as it rolled off the factory line, which is the way it was intended with maximum purity. And I'm all for that for certain cars. Particularly, I think, if you're either one of those people that wants to keep a museum piece or you're looking just to sell it and make money. Because if you have a working one that's full purity, untouched, it's going to be worth more money than a modified one. But the experience of driving it on the road in its current form, broken, is not so great. So I had a quick look. I just basically pulled 1 or 2 hoses off to have a look and see if there's anything obvious, and stuff started just breaking in my hands. There's just bits of rubber all the rubber is really hard in all the vacuums. So all this twin turbo stuff, straight away, vacuum actuated, and one of these has just snapped off the little vacuum tank that's up here. Then there's another boost tank that's down there. That's also broken. You can't get to any of it without pulling everything apart. So you either go full purity and you replace all this stuff and stay twin turbo, but being that it's already modified, and being that there is some really cool, interesting stuff available for these days, I'm leaning more towards modifying
Isn't this
it.
also super expensive to get parts for this?
Some of these bits are expensive.
Crazy
So
expensive.
there's a big mess of solenoids in there that control the twin turbo system, that the controllers for them are pretty expensive to buy now because, again, 20 years old. So I think you can get some of it new still. But what I find interesting is, so that the elephant in the room is going, okay, you get rid of 2 turbos and you put one modern one there.
Yeah.
The turbo.
It's a very, very popular modification on
Super
RVs,
popular.
on lots of cars. People don't do it as much with Subarus though, do they?
Well, I guess that we only get the There was only a couple of twin
GTB?
turbo ones, yeah, but they weren't very good. And honestly, most people just get stuff off an STI and put it on and single them as well. So
Yeah, okay.
twin turbo, like I've owned a couple of twin turbo cars and I think they're great. I know it works well on this particular car, but turbo technology in the 20 years since this came out has improved.
Yeah.
Vastly. Billet wheels, lightweight, like good housing, CNC.
Affordable as well.
Affordable.
Yeah.
And so it might actually be a lot simpler to delete this and stick a single in there. And one of the reasons is we go from about, 40 vacuum lines to 2.
Yeah.
There's one going to the ECU, there's one going to the boost control. And that's it.
I think that's the thing as well with cars like this. They needed to be complex to kind of run all the different systems that were required to kind of make that power somewhat efficiently. It's not required anymore. So it's probably something that you see a bit of a theme of on Mighty Car Mods when we're kind of doing older cars. Just trying to make them something that you can drive around reliably and they work like a normal car. I love the purity. I love people keeping things original, but a lot of people that are kind of playing with purity cars, they often don't get to enjoy them because they're not working, or there's a very, very specific weird bead community required to get parts for them. So
Yes.
I think we just need to do an investigation. I don't know much about these cars. I've never owned a
neither.
Rotary. Marty has owned 2.
None. Oh, I owned a Series 1 RX7.
Yeah,
that was my
Series
first Rotary. I learned a lot on that, but this was always the one I wanted to own, but it had to sort of step up to it. So I think what we should do is we just get all this stuff and chuck it in a purity box.
Yeah.
So we don't bin anything. Purity box all that stuff, and then start to have a bit of a hunt around for what we can use to modernise this.
That is a long-winded way of saying we're going single turbo. Going to the dyno proved what we suspected, that the second turbo was doing basically nothing. Or more likely, the complex system of solenoids and valves have seized up and broken down over the past 2 decades, turning this beautiful looking sports car into a nugget that would lose a drag race with a Hyundai i30. This is all new for us. I've never owned a 13B powered car, and I've heard and read that working on this bends your mind in ways you could never imagine. Because while it still sucks, squashes and bangs fuel, the way it does it in the round and round manner instead of up and down changes everything. We're also dealing with technology that was designed in the early 90s and used right up to the early 2000s, which means a lot of this stuff was great for the day, but technology has definitely moved on.
Have you got yourself a Mighty No Rod shirt yet? This is limited edition. It only exists while we're doing videos on this RX7 and then it's gone. If you want to grab one, now's your chance. Click the thing below.
Mazda packed this engine bay full of stuff, but there is method to it. The engine sits close to the firewall and low down, which helps with excellent weight distribution. The twin turbo system is also compact and a very necessary power adder to wake up that 13B.
When you drain the coolant, it sounds like a Rotary. It's like it knows. So pulling all that stuff out the front of the engine has revealed the 13B. It's kind of actually tucked away and hidden. And it's like a weight balance thing to have the engine so far back because the shock towers are here and most of the weight of the engine is there. But 13Bs are already very light for how much power they put out. It's one of the reasons these are such great cars. Also, interestingly, is the radiator is mounted like flat, nearly flat. I guess you'd call that like a V-mount thing. So there's lots of options for intercoolers. Now, the one you saw that came out of there, the Trust one, full 90 spec, yeah, get it, go. Oh, dude, good shot. Was mounted in this space and then it's ducted. Some air comes through here and ducts into the intercooler. That means it all sorts of bolts together reasonably factory. You can change this setup with the radiator, aircon and intercooler to be either V-mounted or front mounted. I don't know what I'm going to do, but an intercooler upgrade's most likely on the cards, just because we can and the stuff exists and it's local and it's really good quality and it's not that expensive. So we're just going to keep pulling some stuff off. We'll pull the stop of the manifold off so we can get to the coils because that's something we could probably look at upgrading / replacing. We also need to get rid of all this stuff. All this rubber is like brittle and very, very hard. So all that will go in the bin. But we'll keep at it and see where we end up. Hit a tree. No offense, Mazda, but like yuck. Like look at this. Full respect to Rotary people who deal with this all the time and fix them, but like there's a lot going on. I guess the packaging's cool, like all the coils are hidden under there and it's all real tight and neat. But man, there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong here with age. All tucked away, and it's a big job to get that off actually. That's like a good probably hour of pulling stuff apart. Oil filter's in a bit of a tricky spot. So many vacuum solenoids and one-way valves and rubber stuff, and everything is brittle. So I guess if you were just going to stay twin and go completely stock ECU and that sort of stuff, I guess you just have to replace it all, which is what everyone did. Not me. I'm going to keep yanking some stuff off and then work out what to do next.
We're going to take the car over to Super Garage so we can stick it on the hoist. Next on my list is to remove the twin turbo system and all its related components. To do that, the exhaust is going to come off along with a bunch of bracing, brackets, hoses and wiring. I'll throw it all into a purity box, which is where parts go when they don't go in the bin, as they may need to be reused or can go into someone else's project. You don't see too many of these cars on the road in stock form anymore, especially not being daily driven, and there's probably a few reasons for that. When you factor in the cost of original parts and the labour to fix it, you're well on your way to an upgrade that will improve the car, unlocking more power, reliability, or both. The aftermarket is once again here to make this easier than ever with a heap of quality parts that will keep this thing on the road for years to come. And installing those parts is easy, as long as you can manage to remove all the stock stuff, which is turning out to be easier said than done. One thing I am noticing is that all the factory parts feel quality. It's clear that this was a more expensive car than a basic entry-level WRX or performance car. These were competing on the world stage for buyers of sports cars, heavily image-driven with the performance to match. Performance that will increase a whole lot, assuming I can actually pull it apart successfully.
I know you've waited so long, time and time again. All you say is that I did you wrong, so you turn your back on the world, pretending to be strong, but you're crying deep inside. You're still hurting from the lies, and I'm the man that you despise. Now you put up a wall, now you act like you don't know me yet.
So how does your FD RX7 that's got a sequential turbo system work? This thing makes it work. This mystery box of stuff.
Every moment that you make me smile, can I just see you and stay for a while?
I'm trying to find who we were before the lies I learned. So take me back to this time. Amnesia.
That dump nearly beat me, but it's off. My goodness. All right, so the final stud snapped. So that's a problem for Ron, because it's still stuck in the engine. But the turbos themselves, hopefully, now should just pop off. One little water line, and if I've done this correctly, oh, there they are. Come check this out. So one of the things I both love about this Rotary and hate about it is that it's a really difficult job to do, but it's also kind of impressive, the thought that they put into making this system. Because I mean, you can see there, that's two turbos, right? Shares the water feed, the oil feed comes in through here. The exhaust gas goes in through those ports there, and then is shared, goes through the turbos and then is shared. Like, it's such a, I've never really seen anything like it. The Subaru one works totally differently. They're separate. These are together and in this one sort of reasonably compact unit, which is why it's so hard to get off the car, because they're trying to fit a lot of boost into a very small space. I'm very, very interested to see how we go with a single turbo conversion using modern turbo technology. In that space, it should be neat, it should be easy to work on, and it should make as much, if not more power. But yeah, I've never actually driven a working, no, I have driven one working FD RX7 with working twins, and it's good, but is it as good as a single? Guess we'll find out.
I don't think these turbos have ever come off the engine. It all seems pretty factory fresh, and the low kilometres on the car would reflect that. But also, 20 years of heat cycles have practically welded some of these fasteners together, making removal pretty difficult.
Final piece of the puzzle coming off. The actual manifold bit. Front rotor, rear rotor. Flappy stuff in there to do its flappy work. And I think what was not working was one of these flappy valves wasn't flapping, and that's why we weren't getting a nice clean transition to our secondary turbo and all our power. And now down in here, it looks a little bit more typical Rotary. It looks pretty clean too. I think I've got a leaky rear main seal, and that lower rear stud also came out, so I'll need to investigate new gaskets. I don't know if you can reuse these. I'll ask some Rotary expert and tell me. And then the next step now is to tidy up all this stuff that we no longer need. Like every single vacuum line there is no longer required. The oil feed we'll use and the coolant feed that we'll use and the oil returns obviously. And that's that. So a nice fat single turbo will go in that space. So watch this space.
I've learned a lot by pulling this thing apart. Learned that a good proportion of it needs to go in the bin because some awesome new parts will soon take their place.
Another big piece off. That's the lower intake manifold bit. We probably will reuse this, I think, but we will delete a lot of extra stuff that's not needed. It's also where we can change injectors and do other cool stuff like that. So to go single turbo, we need a single turbo, but also a manifold to support it. So I've got two options here. Both are from Artec, which is a Sydney-based company. This is like stainless steel investment cast, really nice stuff. So you can see there's no welds in there. That's all a cast piece. That is a T4 flange, which is also split pulse, which means the pulses that go in there also go into the turbo, which you'll get a split pulse turbo to suit it. And then there's also a V-band one, similar idea. And they basically sent two and use whichever one works best and send us back the one that doesn't. So next up is to try and work out what kind of turbo to put on it. But before I did that, I wanted to actually just test fit and see where it sits and get some sort of measurements and work out what's going to happen. So we'll throw this on and have a look. It's a nice piece of kit and see what it looks like.
And just like that, an important piece of the puzzle is in place. This will successfully low mount a G35-900 for a great balance of response and power.
One of the most fun parts of modifying a car like this, particularly a JDM Hero like this, is all the options you have for wheels. Now, the wheels that came on it I liked because it was aftermarket and the thing was already modified, but the wheels themselves I don't love. There's other wheel combos I've seen on RX7s that I always think look really, really good, but it's tricky because it's so subjective. Everyone has a different opinion on what wheels look good, but I have found some, accidentally come across some that I think might look amazing, and it's these, which are BBS LMs, and they're a staggered set, and you can see they're slightly different. This one's got a little bit more lip, this one's got a little bit less, so front and rear. We've put some tyres on them. I've got a set of Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s for the front. These are actually off the Yaris. And then a set of 265 Michelin Pilot Sport 5s, which are test ones we got for the Lavorg. So we just happen to have those tyres sort of waiting around. So I've put them onto this set of BBS, and you're coming with us for the test fit. I thought about test fitting it and then shooting it later. I'm like, you know what, let's just do it. So you're coming with us. I hope it looks as good as I think in my head it might look good. Now, RX7s actually came with some BBS wheels back in the day, and they were a very similar colour. But they're a bit smaller, I believe, as well. Because in this era, everything was 16-inch, right? And 17 was considered big. This already has 18s. These are 18s. So let's see how it looks. I was today years old when I learnt that these BBS LMs have like a built-in centering ring thing, which is specifically made for hub sizes. This looks like it's just the tiniest bit too small. I would say like a millimetre. So I'm assuming you can get different ones of these, but they're held in by a circlip, which is a bit tricky to get out, but it's a circlip in there. I don't know if you can see it. But if we dig that circlip out, we should have wheel freedom to at least fit them and see if they look cool, and then we can look into actually getting the right hub centering rings. I like it, and there's a few different options for a car like this. You can go full period correctness with all your mods and put wheels that are from like the exact same era and all the mods are from the same era, or you can go completely original, and I have a lot of respect for people that are able to do that. And this is somewhere in between. I like the dish and I like the gold and I like everything that's going on here. I really do. There's so many good wheel options for FDs. You've only got to Google it and you'll see there's like 100 different ones you could do. But I'm very happy with these. Particularly these wheels were pretty inexpensive. They were secondhand, and we also were able to recycle some other tyres that we had sitting around. So that's a pretty good upgrade. And the gram lights are going something else.